above $600. Or for any vendor that you use where it goes above $600. So you have a few trucks to do deliveries. You spend more than, the filling station spend more than $600 on not filling up. You're going to have to get all those chips, file with the IRS. Filling station's going to have to do the same thing, file a 1090. This thing, so even a small business is going to face thousands of new filings. And they say, well, this is necessary to prevent fraud in business. The real reason is it's a preparation for a value-added tax. In the next few years, it's not going to happen. But so on the reg side, there's going to be a real battle on that in the next 2 years. So this then leads, okay, you look at the situation in the United States today, and the financial side, it looks hopeless. You look at unfunded liabilities, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, tens of trillions of dollars, binging on spending, vastly increasing the national debt, especially when you include things like Fannie and Freddie, which they don't do in those numbers you see. It's hopeless. Just take a knife and have it split your wrist. However, what's going to rescue the situation is precisely a thing called the balance sheet, which you appreciate more than most. Balance sheet, assets and liabilities. First, you grow the assets. If you don't grow the assets, the liability is going to kill you. How do you grow the assets? You do things, stabilize the dollar, put in something like the flat tax, stop raising taxes, don't kill people with regulations. And what happens when you do that, not only does the economy grow, we saw this in the early 80s, 20 years afterwards, not only does the economy grow, but asset values go up. Because when people see a future, they mark up the present value of assets. And so, you look at even housing, hopeless situation, but not so hopeless. In this country, each year, in the normal economy, we need 1.5 million new houses. For wear and tear, replace houses from wear and tear, and increasing the population. Right now, we're building about 300,000 or 400,000 a year. 11 months of official inventory, a lot of foreclosure inventory. But if you get the economy going again, do just a few sensible things. 2.5 years, that inventory gets quickly used up. You're going to have a house building boom again, at least by today's standards, just to replace wear and tear and the need for structures. Already, you're starting to see multi-family structures being built for renters. Buy a house. A lot of people shouldn't buy a house unless the finances are better. So the market's going to meet it with rental facilities. So what does that mean? Housing values will go up. Now just to bore you with one last set of numbers before we go to the Q&A. If you take American households in this country, you take all your assets, all of your hard assets, your house, car, goldfish, dog, whatever, all your assets, all your financial assets, stocks, bonds, banks, CDs, mutual funds, IRAs, the whole kit and caboodle. Add them all up and subtract out all your liabilities, credit card debt, personal debt, mortgages. American households are still plus, despite all the devastation and turmoil, plus $54 trillion. Gross assets of over $70 trillion. What does this mean? You just have a 10 or 15% increase in gross asset values, which is not hard because the levels we're at today. That's over $10 trillion. That overcomes a lot of stupidity from Washington and state capitals. It's amazing. So you grow the assets. And then on the liability side, big one is Social Security. Well, there are two ways you can deal with entitlements. You do what you might call the root canal way, root canal without anesthesia, which on Social Security would mean raising the retirement age to 83. And on Medicare, shoot everyone above the age of 70. That's one way to do it, but there's a positive way to do it. The positive way in Social Security, realize my generation, financing was hopeless. Trust fund is a fraud anyway. Realize you have to use general revenues to pay for it. But the thing to do with the system completely falls apart is not with my generation. It's with younger people, a lot of you here. Anyone below the age of 53, this system is headed for the cliff. So what do? You put in a new system. You have personal accounts for younger people. proper safeguards, diversification and the like, so that we're not going to be able to buy a racetrack in Thailand or something like that. But the money is diversified, the money belongs to you. You have certain real regulations on it, so you can't do foolish things with it. So eventually you are turning a liability into an asset, a capital consumer into a capital creator. As you grow older, more capital creators, investing means a stronger economy. And so as my generation goes for our ultimate reward, we get buried, so do those liabilities. But the war costs some, but it's done, over with. And then for younger people, you'll have more capital and you'll have more benefits. Just give you one example, Galveston, Texas. Galveston, Texas, 3 counties in the early, right here in this state, in the early 1980s, 3 counties pulled out of Social Security. Government workers were allowed to do that in those days. What did they do? They didn't even put the money in the stock market. They put it instead in fixed income instruments, primarily fixed interest contracts with sound insurance, minimal risk. Fast forward to today, those folks' retirement benefits 50% to 200% higher than they'd have had if they'd stayed on Social Security. Even low income people. Somebody making as little as $17,000 a year, the spouse gets $683 a month from Social Security. Galveston, they're getting over $1,100 a month. This thing works. The sooner you do it, the better. As for health care, Medicare and all of that, ask yourself, why is there a crisis? And many people say, well, it's because people want more health care. But in any other part of the world, if people want more of something, it's seen as a growth opportunity. People want more tech. People want more cars. Plenty of providers. You're part of it. We'll be happy to supply it. Why is more healthcare demand seen as, oh my God, what a disaster. People are living longer. What do we do? Shoot them or what? It's because of the crazy way we finance it. There's a disconnect between providers and consumers. So you don't get the normal, we don't have real free markets in healthcare. We have pockets of it, which is why we still produce more medicines, more innovation in medical devices than any other country in the world. But it's a hybrid, crazy system. And the proof of it is, because we grew up with it, we don't realize how strange it is. You go to a doctor, or a hospital, or a clinic, and you ask what it costs, they look at you. It means one of 2 things. Either you're uninsured, or you're a lunatic. Why would you want to know what it costs? Can you imagine any other part of the economy? You go to restaurants, I don't care what it costs. It's Medicare's problem. Give it that night. I don't care. So the system goes haywire. There are a lot of things that can be done to bring in free enterprise, like allow nationwide shopping for health insurance, corporate reform, equal tax treatment between business and individual. If a company gets a deduction, why not an individual, even if he or she is self-employed? A lot of things that can be done. If you allow free enterprise in health care, you get some productivity, because those liability numbers from Medicare and Medicaid assume very little productivity in health care. You start getting some health care, those numbers come crashing down. People say, what about those who don't have insurance? Well, deal with that like we do with food. Food's more basic than health. No food, no health. Yet we don't have the government running the farms. If they did, we'd have no more obesity. We'd all be starving. So we allow the farmers to grow the food, private companies to process the food, truckers to deliver it, grocery stores, supermarkets, restaurants, resorts to sell the food. People can't get it. You have everything from food banks to food stamps to deal with it. Why can't we do the same thing in healthcare? We do it in food. Allow free enterprise, and people can't get it to deal with specific cases. And then we get the best of all worlds. We have a safety net, but we also have a lot of productivity, community, innovation. So bottom line, it is about leadership. It's rising in this country. We're starting to see it overseas as well. People do respond, especially free people, to crises. Well, right now, there's going to be a lot of turbulence. Elections in November, Republicans are going to do very well. Somebody said, okay, what happens when the dog catches the bus? I think you're going to see a lot of debate in the next 2 years on that, in terms of what we do about taxes, what we do about the dollar, what we do about health care. Well, it's going to be very turbulent. It is going to set the stage for real reform. And I think in the next few years, we're going to be coming back to a function like this, instead of having paper cups, they'll have crystal, and you'll be getting caviar instead of a piece of candy. Thank you very much.